Hi guys, it's me, Faye here at Faye Desk, and this is my first video since being back from my holiday. And as you'll see, by the time you see this video, you should see one of the small blogs I made on my phone, and in the blog I showed this notepad to show that I was working on videos while I was away. So anyway, for me to stop rambling, I should get on with the video. And in this video I'm going to be doing another video for my series, for my Away with the Fairies series, and in this one I'm going to be talking about Fairy Wicca. That was weird then. I'm going to be talking about Fairy Wicca. I decided, because I have a lot of notes and I've found other sources and other things that I want to write that I haven't included in this, I decided instead of making this video on Fairy Wicca just one video, I'm going to do a couple. So I know it's definitely going to be 2 parts, there might be more. So this one is basically a what is Fairy Wicca. This is part 1 and it's like a overview. So I hope you enjoy, and if you see me looking down it's because I'm looking at my pages and notes. So yeah, let's get started. So a brief overview of Fairy Wicca is that it is a tradition of Wicca and it is surrounded in intrigue and mystery, and it was a vital part of worship in ancient times, especially obviously amongst the Celts and even European witches. And others who practiced like the fairy tradition were African shamans, Indian American like medicine men, and Hawaiian kahanas. I can't even say it. I apologise. I know I've said that wrong. But and then in the 1940s, the modern fairy tradition was established under the leadership of Victor Anderson and his wife Cora, and other like important fairy, or fairy as he spelt fairy was F-E-R-I, teachers during the years that followed. So now I guess you're probably wondering like what the elements and like principles of the fairy tradition are. So the first one's energy. And this is in no sort of specific order, I should say, just the order I've written them in. So, as I said, the first one's energy, and the Fae tradition is more of an ecstatic one rather than a fertility tradition. And basically there is like a strong emphasis placed on sensual experience and awareness. And the fairy power which is used is sensual, sexual, ecstatic, mystical, creative, eclectic, invocatory, and trance possessory. I feel like I can't speak. Also respect for the wisdom of nature and the love of beauty, and where sexual and gender orientation is not limited like to heterosexuality. Exercises such as the Iron Pentacle, the Pearl Pentacle, the Lead Pentacle, and the Blue Fire Visualization are practiced to develop and strengthen the fairy energy current. So the second one is lineage. The mystery of the tradition mainly stems from the fact that Fairy Wicca, in its true form, cannot be studied by distance tuition, either by books or the web. Fairy Wicca is an oral tradition, hands-on, and is taught in person by initiates of the craft. As this was the case, many different branches or lineages of the fairy tradition happened due to each initiate having their own take on the tradition based on their individual experiences and interests. The different traditions include Watchmaker, which is a reclusive group that was formed by the shamanic and psychedelic Gwendolyn Pendrin, I don't know. His first name is Gwyddion, and his last name is Pendrwen. So I apologise for my pronunciation of names is rubbish. Vanathy, which is a fairy group that incorporates Gardnerianism, garden. I can't speak. Garden. Oh my god. Gardnerian element and adheres to the threefold law. And this tradition was founded by Alison Harlow. Compass is an eclectic tradition founded by Starhawk, which combines many elements from different traditions. Silver Wheel, which was founded by Steve Haywell, Eldry Littlewolf, and Gabriel Carlio. This group later became Corey Thealia. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. So basically, Korythalia. And finally, Blood Rose, which is a teaching coven. Although Blood Rose disbanded, its lineage represents what may be the largest faction of the fairy tradition today. Draconian Pictish Elven, which was founded by Brian Dragon, and is an offspring of the Blood Rose lineage, and it draws on the Pictish origins of Faerie, Tolkien, and Jim Morrison. The Sacred Wheel, which was a loose-knit group of fairy teachers and based on material of the Blood Rose group, which is now disbanded. Night Hares, descendant from Sacred Wheel, and there are added elements of Tibetan Buddhism, British traditionalist Wicca, as well as teachings received directly from Victor Anderson and his wife Cora. Dust Bunnies, which was formed by Valerie Walker, an initiate of both the Compost and Night Hare lineages, which this tradition teaches eclectic fairy, like fairy tradition. Mandorla, founded by initiates of the Andersons, their lineage is known as Wicca, which records an earlier form of the tradition and the practices are spontaneous. Morningstar, which was founded by fairy and reclaiming priestess T-Thorn Coyle, and her teachings originate in both the Blood Rose derived lines of fairy, and Faerie has passed through some of lines of reclaiming, as well as that from the Anderson clan, and she teaches internationally, offering 2-year apprenticeships. And then finally the Blackheart, which derives its origins in both the Anderson Faerie, and obviously it's important to know that it's Faerie as in F-E-R-I, as well as the third road material. So basically the third thing is the customs and practices of Fairy Wicca or fairy tradition. Some of the customs and practices are taught, whilst others are generally understood as part of the fairy energy, and these ones include secret names, which are only revealed to initiates. Although practitioners of fairy are responsible for what they do, most of the lineages do not have rules such as those that are contained within the Rick and Read, and when in an enchanted fae state, they can become like a little chaotic, shape-shifting, not completely human, or at least inspired by their gods and guardians on the road to Faerie. There are deities which may either be the same as or different from other Wiccan traditions. Fairies have a unique set of guardians and invocations. These may be associated with the quarters or with the elements, or sometimes both. Knowledge of the 3 selves forms the basis of fairy work. So when initiated, the initiate receives a cord of a specific colour, which holds like spiritual significance to that particular traditional lineage. Trainees are taught how to use the horn pentagram, which is the inverted pentagram, which is inverted pentagram has been made popular in Satanic traditions, but obviously this using the inverted pentagram isn't meant for so-called evil doing. The workings are either solitary or in small groups, and the trainees are they're also taught the fairy code, which includes the black heart of innocence, which is a fierce openness. So in Fae tradition, weakness, insecurities, or self-deceptions in others then are not supported, and submitting one's life force to anyone or anything is also not permitted or allowed. The fourth thing is deities. So obviously the fairy tradition has many different deities, and the primary goddess is the star goddess, and basically she's androgynous, which basically means having both female and male aspects. And there are there are 6 other deities which are all supposed to be aspects of the star goddess. And these are the Blue God, the Corn Maiden, the Harvest Lord, the Great Mother, the Winter King, and the Crone. So finally, the last one that I have written down, number 5, is the Guardians. And there are 7 guardians in the fairy tradition. They are the Cloud People, the Watchers. Sorry, I keep looking down. I have my notes on something else as well. I'm just like trying to find them so I don't seem silly. The Cloud People, the Watchers, or the Watchers. And also the Guardians are usually invoked during circle casting, but may not necessarily be invoked during the magical work. The Guardians of the East and the South are viewed as male, whilst the Guardians of the West and the North are viewed as female. And their real names are secret, and this is, and I've got a list of the names that are public names, and these are Starfinder, Shining Flame, Watermaker, Black Mother, Heaven Shiner, Fire and Earth, in the Earth, and Guardian of the Gate. And although there are still some similarities between this and other traditions of the craft, such as obviously a respect of nature and a love of beauty and an appreciation for creativity, the fairy tradition itself is very, very different. Basically, risk-taking is encouraged to a far greater extent than it is in other Wiccan traditions, and also unlike other Wiccan traditions, which have specific laws limiting behaviour, such as those in the Wiccan Rede or Threefold Law, fairy practitioners see themselves as enchanted, as fae. So this means that neither black nor white outside social definitions on the road to fairyland. So it's sort of like almost like a grey area, like in grey Wicca. So everything's not black and white. So also in Faerie, the gods are real and possess a morality system different from humans. So in Fairy Wicca, possession is practiced. It is a mystery tradition of power, danger, ecstasy, and direct communication with the divine. A fair amount of initiates do not return unharmed from journeys between the worlds. And obviously, fairy tradition is beautiful and exciting, but if you practice it in this way, it's not recommended for everyone, especially the faint-hearted. But so that's everything that I have for this overview. But I am planning tongue guide. I'm planning on, as I said, doing more parts of this. I'm going to go into detail on different traditions and a bit more in detail on some of the things that I said. But I also want to point out that these aren't my personal thoughts on Fairy Wicca. This is just the research that I have done. I do not follow any of the traditions of Fairy Wicca, the fairy traditions. I'm a very eclectic in my fairy practice, and I suppose I'm sort of more of the, just eclectic, and more maybe sort of I don't really like using white and black magic. I don't really like those terms, but sort of more light-hearted then I suppose is maybe a bit better. But I mean, I'm going to do another video soon on the my actual specific practices and traditions and what I actually personally believe in. But I thought that I wanted to cover what is Fairy Wicca, and obviously I wanted it to be unbiased, and for people that actually maybe be interested in looking into it more and stuff, I actually wanted to put down some information, not just what I practice, not just my own sort of path sort of thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, comment below with any questions about anything that I've said, and any suggestions on future videos for this series or for anything. And I apologise for me looking down, because I've wrote down loads of notes. Obviously I'm having to look down to read them, and then I kept trying to look up at the camera, so I must look quite weird, so I was like down, up, so I do apologise for that. But I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and thanks as always for supporting me and my channel, and I will see you all very soon. Fairy blessings!